They're asking for 2 first-round picks. The difference between him now, you can shake your head. By the way, Adam Schefter reported this. Now, Mike Kay has told me, forget about 32. They're not taking 32 for Brian Burns, not in a million years.
With John McMullen, I'm Jody McDonald. That makes us Mac on Birds 365. Bye week in the rearview mirror. We now start the serious prep for the Pittsburgh Steelers. J-Mac, how much info you got out of the Birds as to how this week is going to lay out for them leading up to the Steelers?
Wednesday, back at it.
They're not even back to Wednesday?
Nope, not even back to first practice.
I don't know the CBA, and I don't know that.
Now, they'll be back. I mean, as far as media access, nothing until Wednesday. But, I mean, the coaches are obviously working. The rehabbing players are there. The players will be in by probably Tuesday. I don't know that for sure, but they probably gave them the extra day on Monday, which is understandable. They're 6-0. They're 6-0.
That is a lengthy bye week.
Yeah.
If you're going all the way till Tuesday before you get the regular guys back, and I understand the rehab guys around the play, they're not doing anything; they're just working out. You're not really getting anything accomplished as far as building for this game against.
Well, they don't practice anyway, so what is the point?
And you got a point there, since I rail on that all the time. Why change something that's got you to 6-0 to this point? All right,
and so, they do practice, but it's just all walk.
But you're assuring me all the players after this week off are all going to be able to recognize each other. They're not going to have a meeting to.
Now that I can't confirm. With any bye week, you're just hopeful that everybody gets back okay. So nobody did any knucklehead things over the bye, and that seems to have come to fruition. That's all that matters.
That's always a good thing. All right. You kind of touched on it before we went to break. We are now not 8 days away from the NFL trade deadline. Next Tuesday is the NFL trade deadline. The big deal with Christian McCaffrey took place last week. He got into the game this weekend for the 49ers.
Yeah, showed a little bit too, by the way.
Give him made a couple plays, couple of non-plays too, which I guess you can't really call him on the carpet for. He hasn't had a practice with the team just yet, a significant practice. So, and by the way, the 49ers lost because of their defense. 44th spot there to Pat Mahomes.
And that's supposed to be the strength. D'Amico Ryan's getting head coaching.
Oh, everybody loves him. He's going to be the next head coach in the National Football League. Did you watch the 49ers defense the last 2 weeks?
Hey, man, Falcons, I say it all the time.
Falcons go through them, and then Mahomes lighten them up.
Well, the Falcons is really concerning. The Chiefs, not so much. I mean, where you're going to see it in the World Series coming up, Philadelphia fans. Still in baseball, a lot of changes in baseball, Jody, but good pitching beats good hitting. Still always has, always will. Can't change that. Mano a mano. You'll see it in the World Series. Guys will pitch well. Maybe it's Wheeler for the Phillies. Maybe it's Verlander for the Astros. Although, by the way, he's always terrible in the World Series. So Phillies fans have a leg up there. In the modern NFL, good offense beats good defense. Good offense beats good defense. Now you got to play good offense, but if you're really cooking, it's easier to play offense than defense in the NFL. I don't think San Francisco is a bad defense. I think they got caught against a bad offense, and they were really humming in the second half, especially. And at that point, it's like, what can you do? But I would still say that's one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Atlanta concerns me more. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that against Atlanta. But if you give up a 40 spot to Kansas City or Buffalo, if they're cooking, you're going to give up a 40 spot.
All right. How many times has KC scored 40 this year. There's 30, and then there's 44. There's a little bit of a difference. I would tell you there.
Well,
Defense.
all right. Maybe there's a little hyperbole. 40's a lot, but if you get behind it, here's why I'm not concerned about it. If you get behind in a game like that and the game's over, sometimes you give up some touchdowns at the end. Who cares? The point is they got waxed, whether it's 35 or 45 or the demarcation line is not the important part for me. The important part is Kansas City's playing well offensively. If Kansas City's playing well offensively, they're going to score on everybody. Everybody. That's my larger point. If Buffalo is playing well offensively, now I also, and I've told you this, Jody, many times, I thought the league overreacted to that playoff game last year, saying we can't keep up with these two. We can't keep. No, you can't. That if they're playing like that, you can't keep up with them. The goal is to make sure they don't play like that, and sort of whether you want to, I'll go basketball analogy. Is Michael Jordan in his prime? Is he going to score 30? Yeah, but make it difficult. Make it difficult. Make
right.
it more.
And that's
difficult.
what I'm saying about the 49ers yesterday. They didn't make anything difficult from the first possession to the last. And if you're going to give them a pass on the last couple because, all right, they were buried anyway. No, not for me. Make it difficult. Listen to John McMullen. San Francisco didn't make it difficult on Kansas City at all day, all 60 minutes.
All I'm doing is contextualizing the 49ers defense. Again, the 49ers defense is going to be better than 27 other defenses minimum. That's all I'm saying. So, while I agree with what you're saying, make it difficult, fight to the end, do everything. I'm just saying contextually, they're one of the top 5 at worst, top 10 defenses. So that to me doesn't change because of that performance is all I'm trying to say.
And all I'm trying to say is they're 3-4. And oh, by the way, the season
What are
is
they,
moving,
first
moving
place?
along. Right, that's another bad division.
By the way, Tampa Bay is in first place. After losing 4 and 5, I checked it during the break, Joe.
They got the tiebreaker.
They got the tiebreaker. They're in first place. You know who's in first place in the NFC West?
That would be the Geno Smith-led Seattle Seahawks. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, the Fighting Genos are first place right now.
Which
another one. Who saw that coming?
Well, here's what I'll say. Did I see the Seahawks being in first place? No, I surely did not. But I had a read on when everyone else was saying Pete Carroll is done. If they trade Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll's going to say, here's what you're going to do with your job. No, I'm a 70-year-old guy. I don't need this rebuilding stuff. Number one, I didn't ever believe Pete Carroll was walking away. They're going to have to pull Pete Carroll out of the facility, grabbing and scratching and clawing at the carpet. He's never walking away. I was right about that. And number two, Russell Wilson gone. There's no way. They have to do the rebuild thing. No, they weren't. They believed. Now, to their credit, and I had no bloody clue, they thought Geno Smith could play. They had him in the building. They thought that it wouldn't be a terrible drop-off, that he could do the game manager thing. How many times did you hear, DK Metcalf close to being traded? The Seattle's, they're going into rebuild mode. They can get for DK Metcalf. And I can give DK Metcalf the extension that it needs to keep him. Not only did they not trade him, they extended him as well, which told me, all right, Seattle's not going backwards this year. They actually think they can compete. Well, now they're competing at the top of the division. And those that had Pete Carroll out the door and DK Metcalf out the door, and no, they're still there winning football games, guys.
Well, I'm not gonna pretend I thought Geno Smith could play.
Neither am I.
Wouldn't be a massive downgrade from Russell Wilson. I thought it was going to be a disaster. I just talked about it with Pittsburgh. I mean, it has been a disaster in Pittsburgh going from Ben Roethlisberger to Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. I thought the same thing was going to happen in Seattle. So I give Geno Smith a ton of credit. He's obviously been doing what he needs to do behind the scenes. And yeah, they're playing well and they have a chance to be in that mix. We talk about who's number 2 in the NFC behind the Eagles. Well, we generally look at Minnesota, the Giants, and the Cowboys. Why can't it be Seattle? They're just as good as those teams. I think everybody is just as good as everybody. Um, and you look at. I don't know if you're a big point differential guy, Jody.
Yeah, I give it its just due. I don't overrate it, but I don't
I think
dismiss
it's
it either.
more. I think it's more important as you get later in the season. So it's still a little bit early. But in the NFC West, the only team with a positive point differential remains San Francisco. It kind of tells me they're still the best team. Ultimately, I think they're going to be the best team in that division, but we'll see how it shakes out. Seattle's the only team over 500, but they're minus in point differential, which is rare. So, take it for what it's worth, which probably isn't much.
Well, and again, week 7, we got a lot of football left to be played at this point. As we get 8 days away from the trade deadline, yes, everybody who's a fan is an amateur general manager. McMullen and McDonald play 2 amateur GMs here on Birds 365 every day. And yeah, there's that much more to speculate on when you're leading up to a trade deadline. Eagles haven't made a deal yet. Howie's got 8 days. I think you and I are pretty much on the same page. I don't see them trading for a quote unquote starting player, guy who's going to come in and play a fairly big role for this team. I just don't think it's happening. Burns, the defensive end from Carolina, is the guy who's being talked about most. Here's why I'm not making a deal for Brian Burns, because he's a good ball player.
He's good, very good player. Very good player.
And he's got another year to run on his deal. So you don't have to worry about doing a contract with him.
Well, you do, though, because next year is his 5th-year option. So
right. That's why I said in the short term.
Yeah.
He's already locked
short
in for
term.
Next year.
Yes.
So you can push it another year. That is a concern because you're going to have to sign him, and I don't think he's going to come cheap unless he comes in here and doesn't play well. And then you go, all right, do we really want to sign him? If he plays well, you're going to pay through the nose. So that becomes a tricky thing for Howie Roseman to deal with. And here's the other reason why I'm not making a deal. He's that good. There's going to be interest in him around the league. Maybe more media guys like us speculating that the price is a little bit too high because Christian McCaffrey got moved without a first-round draft pick being in the deal. No 4 picks were, but no first-round draft picks. So if the Eagles offered their own draft pick, which we know is going to be the back end of the first round, maybe 32nd, I don't know if that gets it done. I am not giving up the pick that's got a chance to be a top 5 pick. You're going to give a top 5 pick in the draft up for a guy who's going to upgrade your defensive end position. But we're not talking about an all-pro level player in Brian Burns. There's no way I'm giving up that draft pick. And here's what I think some Eagle fans / speculators are, give up the pick. We got to win. We're all in this year. Do you know how valuable that pick could be? We're only looking at it right now. We got a whole bunch of football season to play. We don't even know how good a draft this is going to be. A whole lot of dominoes need to be knocked over before we get there. But if that's a top 5 pick, and there are teams that need a quarterback, that are dying to get up that, do you know how big a price they'll pay to get that potential top 5 pick if there's 3 quarterbacks in the draft and 2 of them come off 1, 2, and the next pick is the pick that's going to get you the better quarterback.
And Will Levis is going to be a top 10 pick as well. So yeah, there's going to be tremendous value to that pick. And that's a good point, Jody. Just the value to that pick. Plus, even if you want to keep the pick and take the best edge rusher in the draft, which could be the kid from Alabama, who knows how it shakes out. But, then you have him cost effective for 4 years. I mean, it's still pretty expensive per person, but nonetheless, Brian Burns' contract, $16 million spikes with a 5th-year option next year. Now, he's 24 years old. He's got 30 and a half sacks through 7 games of his NFL career in his 4th year. He's very productive. They're asking for 2 first-round picks. The difference between him, now you can shake your head. And by the way, Adam Schefter reported this. Now, Mike Kay has told me, forget about 32. They're not taking 32 for Brian Burns, not in a million years. So they want 2 first-round picks. They've already had better offers. They've already turned down better offers. The assumption you're trading a 24-year-old edge rusher is dumb. That's number one. But here's the other part that I want to throw into this. And I looked this up, and that's why I'm trying to find why is this narrative that the Eagles need a better pass rush? Oh, we need more help. What do people expect? What do people expect? Here's coming into the bye week, and this may have changed because of games yesterday. According to ESPN's pass rush, so if you're doing the advanced stuff, Jacksonville was number 1, Dallas was number 2, Eagles were number 3 in pass rush win metric, whatever you want. Now, whatever that is. If you look at individual rankings, if you look at Pro Football Focus, Brandon Graham, number 4, Hassan Reddick, number 26, Josh Sweat, number 28, Brian Burns, number 34.
Okay, hold on. Can I just stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Brandon Graham, 4th best pass rusher in the National Football League.
No, that 4th best edge rusher overall.
Edge rusher. Okay, sorry.
I'm getting into the pass rushing part of it. As pass rushers, just purely pass
Your
rushers.
pass rushers.
Reddick is number 7. Graham is graded at number 10. Sweat at 41. Burns at 42.
So what was the category? I mean, that Brandon Graham was number 4 in
overall edge rushers.
Right,
so
overall.
run support, everything involved. Everything.
That just amazes me. The BG missing a year, well into his 30s, had no idea what he had left in the tank. And sorry, Brandon, I would have guessed, this is going to be a drop off the table type year more than one of the most dominant defensive linemen in the National Football League.
Let me put, I give the Eagles a lot of credit for this. Now, Graham has played at this level and he's played very well, but they have him on a pitch count. They're well aware. They don't want him playing like he used to play most of the game. They have him on a significant pitch count. So his sample size is much less than, say, Reddick, Sweat, or Burns. He is 34 years old. Long-term, Brian Burns would be much better for this team than Brandon Graham. I mean, let's be honest. But, I mean, you're trying to win the Super Bowl this year. I don't get this thought process. They need help at edge rusher. They don't need help. And then you have this aspect, for depth. You think Brian Burns is going to be a depth piece? I don't.
A depth piece that they want 2 first-round draft picks for. You're giving up 2 first-round draft picks. You better be getting more than a depth piece.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't get this, Christian McCaffrey was the same way. Now, you talk about why didn't Christian McCaffrey get a first? Well, he's older. He's injured all the time. He's not 24 coming off. I mean, that's why Brian Burns is worth more. You can't just keep around star players as break glass in case of emergency guys. One of the things about Christian McCaffrey that I firmly said, I don't want him. And this is the reason why. If you get Christian McCaffrey, you are inherently basically got to get him the football. He's that good. If he's healthy, if he's on the field, you got to get him the football. I don't want to mess with the chemistry of this team. Chemistry class is not an elective in the NFL. It is a requirement. In the Eagles, I don't want to mess with this. They have the 2nd-ranked offense or the 3rd-ranked offense, depending on what metric you want to use, going through the passing game, going through A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, or vice versa with Dallas and Devontae. They don't get the ball at all to their running backs. Who cares? Jalen Hurts, first of all, can run the football better than a dump off to the running back. Now, if you have Christian McCaffrey, Jody, you have to get him the football. It's not going to be Kenny Gainwell, who you don't care about. I don't give a flying, you know what, if I get the football to Kenny Gainwell.
Mhm.
You're putting incredible pressure on Shane Steichen. It would be a dumb move. That's why Howie didn't do it. Howie loves the player. He wasn't interested at all. For that reason, chemistry matters. Odell Beckham Jr., you don't even have to trade for him. People bring his name up all the time. Why don't you bring Odell Beckham Jr.? Odell Beckham Jr. to be the Quez Watkins role? Yeah, he's better than Quez Watkins. You think OBJ is going to be happy with the targets Quez Watkins gets?
And here's the reason why
it's not fantasy football. I'm sorry, Joe.
It's not in fantasy football. It's real football. And the only motivation that Odell Beckham Jr. would have to come to the Eagles would be, all right, well, he's a guy who's been around and he's trying to win a ring. He won the ring last year.
Yeah.
He just did that.
Yeah.
Joined the team late in the season. Let me see if I can hop on, be part of a championship. Been there, done that. So the allure of that with the Eagles doesn't even matter because he's already done that somewhere else. So, yeah, forget anybody who says Eagles.
Joe Banner,
just talking out their ear hole.
Joe Banner calls it the big name trap. And I'll tell you, anybody has ever heard of, they want. And it just doesn't work that way. Chemistry is real. It's not that Miles Sanders, got a lot of heat during the offseason, calling them an all-star team. They're close to being an all-star team. You don't want to, everybody can't be an all-star. You need role players for a reason.
All right. Do me a favor, look something up during the break. We're going to take a timeout here, come back. Aaron Schatz from footballoutsiders.com going to join us in hour number 2. Percentage of snaps played by the defensive line this year. You mentioned that they've done a great job, Eagles have, at just using Brandon Graham enough. Not too much, not too little. The balance has been phenomenal. The production has been off the charts. Look up usage of defensive linemen for the Eagles this year, both inside and outside, because one certainly does affect the other. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. We are your Mac and Mac guys here on Birds 365. Keep it right here.